Everyone. Welcome to a Wednesday lesson around root cause analysis in Claude Code. Thank you for joining us. Today's agenda is going to be roughly 40 minutes or so of me talking. So combination of slides and then also demoing some stuff, some workflows in Claude Code that hopefully will be helpful on this very specific topic around root cause analysis. Now, before we dive in, so just a quick intro for us here. My name is Hai. I am part of the AI Analyst lab. We do a lot of courses, free workshops, um, uh, and also email series, free email courses on our website if you want to take a look. We've been doing this for a couple months now, or a few months now. We open sourced a AI Analyst repo. Probably many of you have heard it or have used it. If not, we'll get into a little bit of a preview on that one. And I'm currently the head of data at Entra, at a legal tech company called Entra, previously at different consumer tech companies like LinkedIn, Pinterest, Meta, Nextdoor. That's where I met Sean and Shravya, who's part of this crew. So yeah, nice to meet everyone for those we haven't met, and nice to see folks that's been with us before. Sean, over to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Sean. Yeah, as I mentioned, I lead the AI Analyst lab with him and Shravya, a principal data scientist, same legal tech company high as that. Been in data for a little over a decade. Most of it in product, but across B2B as well as kind of direct consumer products. Um, yeah, most recently, I'd say the last 2 years been focused on AI evaluation and agentic analytics. Prior to that was like kind of more classic product data science. And then our third member of our team, Stravia, I think she's going to be joining us towards the end of the session. She's currently on a very relaxing retreat somewhere in North Carolina, I think. So she's probably at the spa right now, or we're getting a sound bath or something like that. Whatever they do at those things. But yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for spending the hour with us.
Cool. All right, so we'll get into this right now. Just before we get into the actual content, does anyone, if you were to describe what root cause analysis is, how would you describe it? Put it in chat. What's one thing that jumped to your mind when you hear these combinations of words?
The five whys. Oh, that's such a oh, two people said it. Yeah, so good. Decomposition analysis. Yep. Volume
Yeah,
versus rate effect.
not
Not my problem.
rate,
Versus
volume,
principles.
principles,
Structure.
structured. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's good to hear. Good to see where what people how people would describe this. So where's my button? So root cause analysis typically is trying to answer like an observation. So you have a some sort of metric, right? So in this example that we have here, probably folks in this room might have gotten very similar questions or slash have very similar curiosity when certain anomalies happen in your day-to-day metric. So let's say, this is not uncommon to hear, hey, revenue's down 12%. What happened? That's generally almost like a trigger phrase, or some variants of this would trigger a root cause analysis to diagnose and decompose down to something that is actually useful and actionable. And so, right here in the second line here, you have until end of day go. Typically, that's, like if this question comes from an executive or like a VP of some sort, generally it's pretty urgent. Coincident or surprisingly or unsurprisingly, when revenue goes up 12%, it's less urgent. Uh, but it's a way to pinpoint as precisely as possible the story behind why a number moves and what the biggest contribution to that is. So we'll get into that in a little bit in terms of how to actually do it. Okay, cool. So when folks get that question, there's, like in terms of common practice, I mean practically, not theoretically or not best practices. Um, Three things, just being a little bit, sarcastic here. Number one is probably panic. It's hey, down 12%. Sounds like pretty urgent. But like, where do we start? There's so many ways to slice and dice. No clue how to act. That's pretty common, especially if, for example, a metric is new, brand new. You've never seen it move before. Probably for something like revenue, it is well understood. But there could be billion other metrics that might still be important for the business. And if you haven't seen it before, generally it's not as straightforward, perhaps. So, like there could be merit to panicking. The second one here is just pick a dimension that you have a dashboard for, and then see if something moves, and just be like, hey, that's it, that's the cost, and then just tell a story off of the only dimension that you have access to, for example. That's pretty common as well. And then the third one is go super deep into certain, like paths. So for example, it's like, oh wow, like this looks like it's went up a lot. So let's look in there. And then, the more that you drill deep into, the less you lose the specificity of, hey, exactly how much of contribution when I go this deep is it actually affecting the top line, and how much is it actually explaining it? So this is kind of like what it's referring to, drilling to nowhere. Uh, like if it's unstructured, if it's not very specific, you get to a lot of motions to try to get to a path that may not actually lead you to the right direction. So, like I've seen, and Sean's seen this in the past. I've been guilty of it myself when I first, like uh, either get onboarded to a new area, or have done this kind of like without a lot of reps in the past. It is a lot of, like, hey, see what we can find, and hope for the best. Does this resonate with folks? Hopefully. I saw Sean's comment throwing spaghetti on the wall. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I mean, the drill and nowhere thing is pretty dangerous too, because it's also just like you can also see all these totally unrelated, like spurious correlations that actually have nothing to do that can like mislead you. Like red herrings, basically, right? That can just totally mislead you around the cause that something else is going on when it's not coming from. Well, I'm sure you'll get into like the right way to do it, so I won't spoil it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry, my computer applications are going crazy here. Okay, cool. So we're going to go through a pretty simple framework to understand, or to ground things in as specific of a way as possible. And this framework actually lives in our open source repo that Sean could share the link to. This is the AI Analyst system. It is open source on GitHub. Anybody can clone it, everybody can use it, everyone can build on top of it. It's got many different skills, agents. Effectively, this is a agentic system that mimics what a senior product data scientist would behave like in the analytics workflow. So think of it as uh, the AI analyst system plus Claude Code. You have a very, very capable intern, or a data scientist partner to help do analysis and stuff. And obviously, within that, there's a bunch of skills, agents, and one of those is root cause investigation, which bakes in the framework that we're going to walk through, and it will know what to do on its own, as kind of like a AI system. All right, cool. So what do we actually do when we are encountering a request to, or encountering the need to understand what is causing the thing that we're looking at? So we call it, I guess, the level 0 to n decomposition, and meaning there could be multiple different dimensions, multiple different channels, multiple different dimensions that you can slice and dice by. But there is a way to think about how to exhaust your possibilities in each one of these. So the sort of like the idea here is we have a level zero. You go actually state the metric and then making sure that you're clear what is needed to what is being looked at. Level one is pick a dimension, so something that you have a hunch on, and then level two is within or I guess back to level one is find the segments that explains the movement, and then level two is within that segment, pick another dimension, break that again, and then you keep going until you kind of like figure out something that holistically explain the majority, if not the entire kind of like uh, movement in the metric that you observe. So start at the whole, break by one dimension, and then drill into a segment, and then keep repeating, and just being very systematic about it, so that it's not like a wild turkey chase. Let's see. Okay, cool. So level zero. So, obviously, in order to actually diagnose something, you have to define it. So, define the metric precisely. So, the kind of like the problem statement we saw, revenue was down 12%. What happened? That was not exactly super precise, right? Like revenue over which period, how do you count revenue, so on and so forth. You can imagine, like if people say something like, "Hey, engagement is down," go figure it out. Like down in which like what does that mean? What is engagement? How do you measure it? What time window? What is the grain? So on and so forth. So first, most important thing is to be precise around what that metric is and where the observation comes from. The second one is the quantifying the change. So is it absolute? Is it relative? The comparison window. So down relative to what? Um, that kind of stuff. So is it down 12% for the revenue example that we gave? Is it prior to a 4 week average? Is it week over week? Is it year over year? What is it? So be very clear on that. And then setting the bar. So, like maybe something is not worth investigating, for example. So, it may be down 12% versus like a week ago that had an explained um, increase of, say, whatever, like 12%, and you're just back down to baseline. So then there should be no panic on that. So just making sure that stuff becomes precise and it's not just a, hey, it's down 12%. Let me start firing up all my dashboards. Let me start firing up all my reports and stuff like that to go off on an adventure. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Now, once you are able to pick the hey, perhaps you're being you're being extremely precise. You know exactly what you're comparing against. You know the exact metric, and stuff like that. Now you go into kind of like the next step here, which is level one. So picking the dimension that explains the most variance. So the the easiest way would be reach for a dashboard, for example, to look at like things that you have that's already charted. Like that's the easiest part. That's typically pretty simple to do. And then like you eyeball it and stuff like that. The idea here is try to be as exhaustive as possible. So like if you know that, like the segments that you care about for your business, for example, is the demographics, the regions, the acquisition channel, the whatever else like that pertains to your business that are pretty important and that you're that typically is something that your business is sensitive to. Just make sure that you check all those dimensions. Pick understand kind of like across these most common dimensions, which one explains the biggest the biggest contribution to the actual change. So let's say like if your revenue is down 12%, and that's amounts to, for example, like $5 million, and then you look at these different dimensions and you saw maybe like region is uh, 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 like is APAC is down, let's say like 4.5 million. That's your direction. Like that's where you should go first. Even if, let's say, like another dimension says, hey, there's this, I don't know, like a TikTok acquisition channel is down, like 80%. Maybe that's still worth investigating, but it doesn't explain kind of like your the biggest proportion of your pie, if you will. So just making sure you look across and then kind of like figure out the one that explains the most of the change that you're observing, because most likely that's going to point you to the right story, or at least the right direction where you can keep slicing. Cool. So which one has the most uneven impact? Okay, and then you just keep going with this. So within that segment or within that dimension, for example, then what is the next segment that's helpful to keep going? So almost every piece of kind of like data, like region, you might be able to break it down by devices, for example, or you might be able to break it down by marketing mix or marketing channels, so on and so forth. So here is where, if you could keep slicing and if the contribution continues to remain kind of like a big basket of the proportion of the total change, then you can keep looking at what is the most granular way, and that typically is where your root cause lies. So the specific example here is revenues down in EMEA. That is typically too broad, and like that's a good observation that points you to a direction. Very unlikely that something is in EMEA that is only affecting it. Maybe it's seasonality, maybe that's true, or some external events and stuff. Internally, there might be more of a story to it than just simply this big piece of the pie. And then, like when you start kind of like drilling it in deeper, for example, um, in the example that we're going to show in the Claude Code demo, we're going to use a fictional data set that we have in the AI Analyst repo, where just think of it as we have a fictional company, e-commerce company called NovaMart. Think of Amazon. So exactly how it works, and perhaps like there's membership people. Like there's a cut around whether a shopper is a member or not of NovaMart. And so in this example here, this is getting closer. Maybe it's the members that sign the paid members in Germany or UK on iOS is contributing to most of that decline. Now that's getting closer, and you know exactly the isolated area within the region that's explaining kind of like the top line. Now you can keep going as well, where, hey, why is iOS down? It could be because it's a particular channel that they're landing on that is different. And so like as you keep going, you're gonna start seeing the specific cause of something, if it indeed is an anomaly. Hopefully that helps. Oops. Okay, cool. So the whole idea really is like, hey, if you have a dimension, you go look at what's the biggest contribution, and then you slice it again by the other dimension types that you have or segment types, and then you keep going. Where like the more that you do it and the more that you maintain your perspective around, hey, how much movement this actually explains the top line, then hopefully at the end of that exercise, or by the like nth cut, you're able to see like, hey, this is probably the anomaly that I'm seeing that explains the whole thing, and then you can start correlating against other things. Here's a reusable prompt for what we just talked about, where you can run it in any of the AI chatbots or any your favorite ChatGPT or Claude or whatever that would pretty much mimic that whole process, and you just have to give it the context, for example. Okay, cool. So 20
Maybe
minutes in.
maybe
Yeah.
just to pop in here for a second, since like so we've been talking a lot about like just the the methodology and the framework of just root cause analysis in general. I'm sure a lot of people here have done root cause analyses. This obviously this lightning lesson and a lot of stuff we do at the lab is more around like how do we use agentic systems to do this. And I mean, I think Hai just shared that prompt and he's going to go and demo some stuff in Claude Code in a bit. But I think one of the things I just want to call out here why it's really helpful to have agentic systems versus just us do it is that all this stuff can be done at a level of robustness and depth that we just do not have time to do. So if we think about like the steps we just went through, right? It's like, okay, is this real? Like align on the metrics and stuff. Is this a real problem based on the baseline? Then we form all these hypotheses around all of these dimensions we want to drill into. We don't just want to like throw spaghetti at the wall and look at everything. We want to have like strong hypotheses around them. Agentic systems like this is going to be like your co-pilot to think of like, hey, are these really like solid hypotheses around like dimensions we should check? And then they're going to be able to go down and drill down into that one to end space that Hai mentioned at like in parallel at a speed we just wouldn't be able to do. So like in my job at any company, like I've spent I remember a couple times when I was at Nextdoor that I spent 2 months on some like code red, code yellow, root cause analysis, trying to understand why our sessions were down. And for me, just as like a human, like I'm like going through all these different dimensions, even in a structured way. And I would have to keep circling back to new ones as more data came in. It's hard for me, even when documenting it, to kind of like keep track of all the threads and what links together. And so when you have a system like this where it can literally have sub-agents do it all in parallel and then write all its finding to like the same knowledge base, you're just able to manage and store like that context of the problem so much easier and expedite the speed of the analysis of the root cause analysis, but also the depth as well. So that's why how we found it like really powerful here. And it's nothing, it's not you can add some like more fancy like robust causal inference methods to this to make sure like, hey, this is like, the truly isolated driver. But even just at the like most naive level of segmentation and attribution, which is like it's not going to screw that up. It's extremely powerful. So just kind of want to highlight that since that's more what this session is going to be about and obviously what we focus on in like our boot camps and our full week course. But yeah, back to you, I.
Cool. Yeah, great points. Yeah, I remember it used to take hours to just cut one document and go on and like just keep going. So with the help of Claude, for example, and the agentic system, we'll see it run. Okay, cool. So back to this scenario. So again, the whole e-commerce fictional company that we talked about, NovaMart, that's what we're gonna run some prompts against. So the setup here is we know that in June 2024, we know we have a ticket spike. So tickets would be call center supports around people calling in to get customer supports. And so tickets were way up in June 2024 versus May baseline, and then we'll just use Claude Code with natural language prompts with the AI Analyst system, and you'll see that we don't write any code, but it's gonna do all the the drilling, the dimensions, and then we'll see what that looks like. So let me share my other screen here. Okay. Can people see this? Do you see a black screen here?
Yeah, and maybe just to get a feel for the room too, in the chat, if you wouldn't mind dropping, if you've never used Claude Code before, drop a 0 in the chat. If you've used it, but you haven't used it for analytics, drop a 1. And then if you've used Claude Code for analytics tasks, drop a 2. Thanks. Okay, cool. Yeah, a lot of people have either not used it or
Hmm.
have used it, but not for yeah, Robert. Robert, you're a 2, man. You're a 2 now. You ran it.
Robert, you're a two.
1.5. Nice.
I will be in a few weeks.
Yeah, there you go. You will be after the boot camp. You can officially
You'll
say
be
that you're
you'll be
two.
three.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, so what you guys are looking at here, for those who are not familiar, this is, I mean, this is think of this as the AI Analyst repo that we cloned to my computer. So basically, the link that Sean shared with you all, you can use this. I'm in VS Code, so you can clone that entire repo down to your local machine, and then I can work with it via Claude Code, which is this terminal thing here. Now it looks a little bit intimidating, especially for folks who haven't used terminals in the past or are not, like maybe software engineers or technical folks. But it really is just an interface where you just chat with it once you have it set up and installed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start pasting some prompts in where I'm going to say, hey, can you describe what the NovaMart data is about? What's the business model, etc. So just to warm it up, like just for us all to understand what this is that we're looking at. And this is probably a good practice. Anytime that we look at a data set that we're not familiar with, what we typically do is like explore it a little bit, right? Like, what are we looking at and stuff like that. And with this company, NovaMart, we have a lot of rich information about it in the form of the whole context of what this business is and how they make money, what kind of data we have, that kind of stuff. So here's what it responded with. What it is a simulated e-commerce business, as we talked about, not a real company, models the full year of operations from 2024 to 2025 for an online retailer, so on and so forth. It's given me has 50,000 people, 47,000 orders, 6.5%, 6.5 million events that it's tracking, 500 products. Business model is a direct-to-consumer online marketplace with transactional, you buy some stuff with a membership subscription. So kind of like the $99 Amazon thing, Amazon Prime. And we've got data around acquisition, engagement, monetization, retention, so on and so forth. So lots of these information that it just gives me, and I'm just asking it in English. So I'm gonna do a follow-up prompt here because we already know the story a little bit. So how is ticket volume over time look like? I mean, grammatical mistake, but that's fine. Not an English major. Can you make a chart? So in here, I'm actually asking it to explore the data a little bit. So in the setup, we know that as part of this data set, we also track ticket volumes for call centers. And so, I'm interested in what that looks like over time, just to confirm, again, back to our framework, just to confirm that what we said in the slide is actually true. And so what's better way to see that than to actually look at it charting out. So what it's doing is it's basically looking at the instruction files. Think of the repo, like the different folders and files here, as instructions for Claude to behave like a senior data scientist. So what it's doing is, hey, I've got a bunch of instructions around here, so I'm just going to go look at the right ones to make a chart, to explore data, figure out where the data is, that kind of stuff. And then it's self-healing. So anytime that it runs into errors and stuff, it'll figure it out on its own. I almost never read too much into what these are because I don't understand most of it. Um, but it will fix itself and it will figure out how to actually keep going. Until it can't figure it out, then it will tell me like, hey, here's something that I need from you. So now it's done. It's done doing the charting, and it also summarizes sort of like the findings here. So here's the chart. So I'm just gonna look at this, and this spike here is something that I'm interested in, sort of like taking a look, and this is and it bakes in sort of like the storytelling with data, best practices for charting in some of the skills and agents, and so that's why this looks very different than when it's charted here versus if you maybe just prompt Claude to be like, hey, can you make me a chart, for example?
Hey, a couple
Oh,
of questions. Hi.
yeah.
Just to pause for a second. Question, do we need to call out question around this being synthetic data, and can you use this on real data in a real company?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So you can connect it to your data warehouse, your data sources. You can give it CSVs. There's native connectors for, I think, Snowflake and DuckDBs and all the other and a few ones. And certainly for the stuff that's not on here, for example, like Databricks, I don't think it's part of it. You can ask Claude, you can work with Claude to get that set up, for example. But yes, this is portable to, real data, everything.
And then questions around can you use this? Is it just Claude Code or can you use GitHub Copilot? Can you use it with Codex? I just say with GitHub Copilot, we have not developed anything, but we have multiple students from our bootcamp and also our 5-week course who have extended this to leverage GitHub Copilot. I know a lot of companies, especially if you're working in like banking or healthcare, you're limited on what you can use, but but you probably do use Copilot at least. So we haven't developed anything, but we could probably connect you with some of our students who have. And we're talking about building at least some kind of frameworks around that we haven't yet. And then, hi, I know you've messed around a little bit with Codex on it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Shravi is gonna develop
Yeah.
a Codex repo for it.
Yeah, so I raised my hand because I wanted to give a quick introduction. Hi, I'm Stravya Madipalli. Sorry for giving an introduction so late. I joined it right now. I had an appointment. So I am one of the AI Analyst Lab founders with Sean and Hi. So great question about the Codex. I'm currently building that right now, and we plan to share it in the advanced bootcamp. And great question about the Copilot too. That's something that I want to dabble as well. Have AI analysts everywhere, guys. We are in Claude Code now. We want to get to Codex, we want to get to Copilot and also open source. I know there's a bunch of people that have legal constraints in their companies. So we want to see how can we build systems that could be maybe sitting locally in your service. So yeah, stay tuned.
I did tell everyone that you were at the spa, Ravi, and I'll say you're glowing right now. You're glowing. You look very happy and refreshed. Like you're not coming out of like meetings on like your like fifth coffee like me. Like oh, like, you look like you're having a nice relaxing day. So
Oh, it's
thanks for jumping in.
amazing, guys. It's amazing. Totally recommend this. Along with a bunch of our courses, I recommend this resort as well. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. We'll put on a slide, whatever the resort Shravi is.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah, running locally would be awesome. Yes, we are looking at that right now, right at this moment. So, okay, so the next prompt here I'm going to give it is can you do a root cause analysis on the payment ticket spike in June? And then it's going to run off and do the uh, do some stuff here. And so what it's doing is first it's going to verify that whatever spike I'm giving, it can actually quantify and characterize it, and then it will drill down, and then it will have the different dimensions that we talked about at the earlier introduction about the dataset prompts. and then it will sort of reason its way to figure out the exact level 0 to n decomposition method. It will go in one, take a look, and then if it's a dead end, zoom out, keep going, and all of that driven by the hypothesis. So confirmed, let's see, June payment jumped 41% of all tickets. July fell back down. Crucially, attempts grew smoothly. So it's now reasoning on its own around, hey, this is the observation. This is my next step. This is a way for us to follow along in terms of what Claude is thinking and what it's taking in terms of the next steps and the different things that it has in its repertoire. So again, hitting some errors, and that's cool. It knows what to do on its own. And so it fixes it. So seems like it's already found some root cause. And then so it's now building some charts around it and then writing it up. And very soon we will be able to take a look at what it actually comes up with. All right, here we go. So it is now listing some of the findings that it's got. The root cause, defective iOS app release, version 2.3.0. So this is pretty deep. Like this is actually a few layers deep in terms of the different levels that we talked about. Like how many times do you slice and dice? It effectively has done quite a bit of dimensions and segmentations in the different tables that it's got access to in order to arrive at, hey, it looks like this is the isolated incidents here. It says why I'm confident, so it's got skills to triangulate its own findings and then figure out that it is not, like just making things up and stuff like that. It's got different ways for it to check itself. And so, hey, it's like, hey, I'm here's why I'm confident. Now, assuming this is all cool, like we still have to check the work and stuff, here's the so what. So it doesn't just kind of like stop at, hey, here's the, I answer your question, that's it. But it keeps going in terms of, hey, what does this mean in the context of the knowledge that I have about the business that you have, of the data that I've already looked at, what usually would mean that we can use this information for, basically. So, so I think the kind of like I'll have it write it out so that we can see it even better than on just the screen here. So I'm just going to do, can you write this report along with the charts to a report in Google Doc? Actually, it outputs a chart, so I can look at this. So it basically isolated to, hey, a version of the iOS release shipped on this date, and then the payment defect was detected off of the tickets. And then something was fixed, and then it was fixed a few days later, and so it dropped down back to the baseline. So that's kind of like like one graph that tells them all kind of thing for its conclusion. So I'm just gonna give it, can you write this report along with the charts to I mean, yeah, spitballing, nothing very formal English here. So it's gonna produce a Google Doc, and then we'll see kind of like what that looks like once this is done. Hopefully you guys are following along in terms of just, I know this is pretty quick, and you might have a billion different questions around, hey, how does this work? That kind of stuff. If you clone the repo yourself, like right now, you would be able to do the exact same thing that we've done. Export skills. Now it's looking at MCPs. So my Claude Code is connected to Google Docs as well. So that's why I'm able to have it do the export, and it knows exactly what to do. Now it's probably going to take a little while, but I already have the thing produced. So I'm going to show you that as we let it run so that we don't just sit here and wait for it to load. Let me see. I'm going to share the screen here. Can you guys see this Google Doc?
Yep.
Cool. So this is the kind of like it's done running its thing, we should be able to see something very similar, which is, hey, here's the root cause analysis around the June 2024 payment spike. Here's the conclusion. Here's the impact of it. Here's the evidence chart, the same spike that we just saw in Claude Code itself, and then it goes through the different evidences of why this is an issue, why this is real based off of the data, and why this is confined to iOS only. It's giving me all these detailed information around what it's done. So the different, I don't know, severity issues, order linkage flips, so many different slices and dices that it's able to do and that it's able to summarize. And so gave me some judgments around why this matters, recommended next steps, confidence. So at the very top, there's the how confident it is in this report. It says pretty high, and here's the itself, grading itself in terms of based on the stuff that it's done, the findings that it's looked at, why it rates itself pretty confident in this analysis. So and sources, queries, everything is logged, that kind of stuff. So that's basically the demo. I know it's pretty quick, but just wanted to just show people where, as Sean said a little earlier, if these were done by hand, it would have taken probably quite long. Versus if we systematically just prompt, for example, Claude Code, that we're able to get to the same, like probably a much more robust and exhaustive understanding of what the actual root cause is.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not even just like the length thing. It's just like we wouldn't do some of this stuff. Like there's just like stuff that I just wouldn't do. I'd be like, I can't stare at this screen anymore. Like I gotta get outside and touch grass. Like I'm losing my mind doing this root cause thing. Like what am I doing with my life? And now I can have a agent do more of that. There was a question here high around if the event is driven by multiple causes, will the agent only surface the one with the biggest contribution?
It will surface everything. So things that would contribute to, like if there are multiple causes, it doesn't just go to the one and only or the biggest or anything. It would flag that hey, I'm seeing two anomalies here. Both probably need to be looked at. So it's not hard coded in a way that's like, hey, just find me the deepest, but really reasons itself through the all the driving factors that could be possible.
And then there was a question also around how do we ensure our repo holds up across different models, Sonnet versus Opus, as well as model updates? So model updates, we test out. So right now, like we're starting to test it out on Codex with Codex. We're starting to test it out with some open source LLMs. We haven't tested out with any of the Gemini stuff yet. With all of the Anthropic models, we basically test out every model update. Like even in our last 5-week course, Opus 4.7 came out a week before our course started, and we actually tested some stuff out, and we changed some things in the repo itself. We have like a plus version of this repo that our students get access to that we updated for 4.7 because it was going off the rails a little bit. And we also re-recorded some content. So we actually don't only update the repos, we update our course curriculum that we run every month for the new model updates, and we'll continue expanding that to other frontier models and open source models as well, and maybe even something around like GitHub Copilot. In terms of Sonnet versus Opus, this does not work well with Sonnet. There's probably some tasks that do work well with Sonnet, but we've been kind of working at this for, I don't know, like maybe like 8 months at this point. We were like trying it, and then like it didn't really click until February with Opus 4.6, where we were pretty confident. We're like, okay, we should like release something open source because it works quite well. But prior to that, like 4.5 didn't work great with Opus. Sonnet doesn't really work that well for a lot of the stuff. I mean, like it just works well with some things, but it's like very confidently wrong. So that's why I don't like using it with Sonnet.
So
Um, Yeah.
Regarding Sonnet, what I wanted to share is if you're sure, like it's purely execution, there's no like analytical thinking or reasoning, and it's like executing the exact rules that you've put in skills, you could try using Sonnet. It's not going to basically
Mhm.
think by itself. But for things like this, the root cause analysis where it has to think through and question it and also like can come up with some validation loops, you'd rather do Opus.
Yeah, anything with reasoning. Um,
Yeah.
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 We should probably do something. I mean, there's so much, everything's moving so fast. I'm sure everyone here always feels like they're constantly behind. I definitely do. And so like there's such a big backlog of things I want to do in terms of like I'd love to be able to go in there and just like have for every single like most granular task have it assigned to like the cheapest model that does it
Yeah.
to the highest quality. But obviously haven't had time to do that. But if anyone else wants to and share it with us, then that'd be an awesome contribution.
Yeah, that would be so cool. All right. So just to wrap things up, you've seen a bit of the AI Analyst system, and we have an upcoming boot camp just this weekend. So in 3 days, we're going to have a 2-day boot camp that goes through building your own AI analyst. So many of you may have questions around, hey, how is this built? How can I build it myself? How do I use it in my company? How do I do X, Y, and Z? How do I build on top of it? That's exactly what we're going to go over. Like you can use the repo yourself, like completely open source, free. You can just use it, figure it out on your own. We also have a bunch of free content as well around it. But if you want to build with us to learn the how do you design it? How do you actually do skills and agents here? How do you connect to the different tools that it could have, connect to different context in your company and stuff like that. 2-day boot camp, 4 hours each day. So Saturday morning, Pacific time, Sunday morning, Pacific time, 4 hours each. You're going to be in a room with many different other folks who are doing this too, to understand how to actually build agentic systems and the patterns associated with it. For attending this lightning lesson, we have a 20% off coupon code or discount code, RCA20, and this expires tomorrow, end of day. And we'll paste in the link here as well to the actual boot camp that you can sign up and ping us with any questions that you may have or anything. We would love to have you there.
Yeah, and then just a couple other things. There was a question around uh unable to attend the weekend boot camps. Can I access the content outside the boot camp? So couple options here. And yeah, totally understand people can't go on weekend boot camp, especially people with like kids. I don't know how Stravia teaches these boot camps. She's nuts. But like I have no life. Like this is just all I do. So it's fine. Like my dog, it's fine. But the we do have some people who could not make the boot camp, but everything is recorded during the boot camp. We release the recording on Saturday and Sunday, about 2 to 3 hours after the session ends. Um, Once Zoom like processes everything, as well as all the kind of material and resources covered. So we had a few people in our boot camp last month just go through that async recordings, and it went really well for them. Um, Something we've talked about doing is like doing another office hours during the weekday, following the boot camp, for people who
Also,
couldn't make it
they get
live.
access to Slack, right? Sean,
Oh
we
yeah,
add them to
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we basically
Every
have a Slack channel for every course. And so even though you're going to do it async, you're going to be added to the Slack channel. You look at all questions people had, all discussions, all outputs, and learn from where people had questions and outputs from. And you could ask your questions there too. And we'll reply. But the most important thing about these boot camps and that we are actually really excited about is the community aspect. We have people from multiple levels, from VPs of data to staff ICs, and they learn so much from each other by sharing with each other. So those Slack communities and all are going to be really helpful too. Even though you're async, you could just be have a conversation there.
Yeah. And then yeah, at some point we'll do them on weekdays. We just haven't done that yet, but we will definitely consider doing that in the future as well. And then the only other thing I wanted to add, because I know like half the room, when we asked like the 0, 1, 2, have you never used Claude Code before? Have you used it? Have you used it with analytics? There was a lot of zeros. So for people who um, so you can join the bootcamp and never use Claude Code before. Like that's totally good. But if you're like not ready to do like a full-on bootcamp and you just kind of want to like get started, get it installed because you've never touched it before, or you're not familiar with the terminal, we do have like a pretty reduced price, like 3 hour intro workshop. We just ran it for the first time this past weekend. Actually, there's some people in here like David and Robert did it last weekend with us. It's $50. We're gonna do that again. We're gonna keep doing that monthly, I think. So we'll do that in a few weeks. I think on June 10th, so
June
Wednesday
10th. Yeah.
morning. So it's like 7 to 10 a.m. PT. Um, yeah, thanks Robert for the shout out. It's like yeah, it's like a very mini boot camp. It's we basically just like walk you through live how do you install Claude Code? How do you clone a repo? How do you download the data? How do you run your first analysis? That's pretty introductory, but if you're kind of in those haven't used this before and you just want to get set up, then that's a really nice first step. Yeah, Rich, yeah, that'd be a good one, I think, probably for you since it's coming up.
Yeah, and we'll paste the link here as well.
Did we
Yeah,
talk
and
about what we'll be covering in the bootcamp? We'll also have everything that Sean shared in the like what we did in the intro bootcamp so that you get everything set up. And we'll also share with you how we built that repo. Because when we ran our first bootcamp, that was the most hottest questions like, can you help us understand what went into the code and how you built it and all of that? Because I understand that most of you wants to take this and share it with your team or start building and like 10xing your work output, and knowing the brain behind how we got there would probably benefit you, and if you share with your teams benefit them. So that's the intent of the bootcamp that's coming this weekend. It's actually pretty exciting even for us because this is our first time sharing with the world. We actually have this information not shared with anyone yet. Yeah.
yeah, so it'd be like walk through like, hey, what's the different components of agentic system in the context of the analytics? What is the like design approach that you take to build each of those components? Then like purposefully try to break it and then identify why it broke and then apply fixes to it. And then we'll also spend some time on like connecting to different MCPs like Google and Notion and stuff like that. Yeah, it should be pretty. And of course, we'll run analysis and walk through the repo itself. But I think the best value is from people not just like taking someone else's tool and using it, but knowing how to like build it their self as we kind of like enter this world where like building and execution of code becomes really cheap.
Derek has a very
No,
good question. Do you want to take that, Sean?
oh yeah, definitely not just for technical folks. There's no coding. It's all just natural language. Um, we are going to have different kind of breakout rooms in there as well. So if someone is like more technical and is more familiar with stuff, then they could be in that breakout room. If you're like totally a non-technical kind of person or less technical or intermediate, there'll be a breakout room for that to make it approachable. And then if you're already building agentic systems and stuff, and like this is too kind of like intro vanilla for you, there's an advanced boot camp at June too. Um,
Yeah. I mean, you guys saw that there was nothing coding related in the demo, and a lot of the pattern is going to be like that, where once you get it set up, once you get an understanding of it, you're just chatting with it.
Hey, hi, do you want to answer Robert's question around I think his question's more around like
Oh, framework.
maybe the 5 week course kind of thing.
Yeah, great question, Robert. So boot camps tailored towards more of building your own systems, understanding the AI components of I would call it kind of like at the forefront of doing AI analytics. We have another that we didn't really talk about here. We have another course around a 5-week course around AI analytics. It's called AI Analytics for Builders. I think Shravya pasted the link here, where we really help people to become analytically independent, meaning even if you're maybe if you're a data professional or if you're not a data professional, we give you all the foundational knowledge, the frameworks, the best practices for how to think about different aspects of the analytical workflow, just like a root cause analysis being one of those lessons, for example, out of, I don't know, like 80 or 90, that we would equip everybody who takes the course with the best practices that accumulated over our collective history of being in the field of what good looks like and what solid means in terms of analytics, and then go through them systematically while delegating the actual execution to AI, just like Claude Code that you see. So that is more of a 5-week course where we distill as much as possible for all the different framework and things, such that everybody can absorb and learn those and then become really, really self-sufficient in their analytics journey. So next time when you ask a question or when you think of like a data question or something, you already know kind of like how do you best do it to make the most informed decisions.
Yeah, the way I think about it, there's always been boot camps around how do you do data science or analytics. This is your kind of end-to-end data science analytical framework boot camp, but instead of the execution layer being taught in like Python or R SQL, it's being taught through Claude Code.
Great. Thank you.
I can stay over a bit if people got more questions. I know we've been asking questions with the bootcamp, but also questions about root cause analysis or the repo, or it can be anything around agentic analytics. And if people don't have questions, that's fine too, but happy to stay over a little bit.
Yeah. Let's stay over a little if folks are interested.
They're speechless. All right.
Oh, yeah.
No questions is fine too.
Yeah.
You can hit us up on LinkedIn, or feel free if you're in the Slack community. If you want to join the Slack community, hit us up there. Intro to optimization stuff. We're gonna kind of go over that in our advanced. This is referring to Rich's question in chat. We're gonna kind of go over that a little bit in the advanced stuff, like some of the kind of like code optimization loop stuff where you build like some kind of evaluation scores and then can have like the system itself kind of like optimize what's going on, but it'll probably be like a couple hours of that course, not a full course itself, which I think it could be. Maybe sometime in the future, though. I think it's a good idea. I've been doing a lot of that at my work, but we haven't been teaching much of it. I do feel like with just the agents and how good everything's getting, like optimization and simulation is going to have like a crazy moment in terms of like analytics.
Totally. Okay, cool. Great. Join our Slack community as well. That's where you can find us. You can also find us on LinkedIn. You can DM us on Slack. And yeah, otherwise going
Yeah,
once.
I'll drop the invite link to Slack right now.
Okay, cool. We'll give it 15 seconds and then we'll.
Yeah, if anyone wanted to join Slack who's not in there yet. Cool.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for spending your time with us. And hopefully we'll see you again in a future session or in the upcoming bootcamp.
Yeah, we have another free session this Friday on insights to action in Claude Code. So should be a really good one that Hai is leading. So we see you there.
You'll see me again on Friday. You sign up.
All right. Later, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.